Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. Quickly, let's dive into what is happening between Israel and Hamas, the prospect of looking for peace, or and other matters arising all the way from France. Join me to welcome Shem Oriche Etete. Shem, how are you doing this afternoon?
Very well, very well. Good afternoon, Wilson, and thank you for having me.
All right, it's a pleasure having you join us, though virtually. All right, with me here in the studio is a lecturer from Uniben. I call him the prophet. When he starts discussing international relations, you know that he's well grounded. Join me to welcome, yes, to me, he's a prof. Felix Osayeme. It's a pleasure having you join me in the studio.
Good afternoon, Wilson. Yes, Atom. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
All right. So let's move straight down to France, where Shem is standing by now. What do you feel about the current situation in Gaza? Remember, lives have been lost, and people are saying that the Israeli Defense Force, they are using so much force that is unwarranted in fighting Hamas, vis-a-vis affecting innocent citizens in Gaza.
Well, thank you very much for your question. Uh, the first thing we need to understand is that Israel is a sovereign state, and Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. And we also need to understand that Israel is fighting for survival. Judging by what has happened to Israel in the past, unfortunately, many people today do not read or do not understand or do not know the story of the Holocaust between 1933 to 1945, where over 6 million Jews were murdered all across Europe by the Nazi group. Actually in Germany, but all the Jews in Europe were, they were targeted and murdered by any means, by gassing, by shooting. And so Israel stands, for me, I believe Israel is only defending herself. Israel is defending herself because Israel is the only Jewish nation on earth. We have other nations with other religions and other things and that, but we have just one only Jewish state. So I think they are only protecting themselves. And judging by what we see in Gaza and the news we hear from Gaza, I just want to let us understand this, that some of the news and majority of the news about starvation, about IDF using force and killing civilians are not true. I believe from what I've read, what I've seen, that IDF is one of the most moral military on earth. They do not target civilians, they do not target children, they do not target women. In fact, they protect women and they protect children. They only target terrorists and those who wish to destroy them.
Come back to you. Well, you heard him. He said the IDF, they are doing well. Israel is defending its territorial integrity. But the question now is, how far do you think Israel really need to go to ensure their safety? Remember, he said the IDF, they're not targeting children. We had reports of children being killed. We have reports of unarmed civilians being killed. Take it up from there.
Basically, we must go back to what sparked off this current challenge that is unraveling in the Middle East. It was in October 2023, October 7 precisely, that the Palestinian forces, under the directive of Hamas, the militant group that is in occupation in the administration in Gaza and the West Bank, they broke into Israel, used paragliders. Some came from the sea. They tore through the Israeli wall that is to act as a certified border between their territory and Israel. And they did not just enter Israel, they carried out acts that were scary. At the same time, acts that shocked the conscience of the world. What they did was funny because they entered homes, shot people at random, and as they were shooting, they were live streaming it. So the action they carried out was being watched all over the world. Not only did they do that, they went to a youth concert by the beach, shot the ones they could shoot, carried the rest away, took them hostage. Even some corpses were taken hostage by the elements that broke into Israel. And they showcased it for the world to see. Now, if you look at this perspective, you begin to understand why Netanyahu's reaction, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, he said that they are not going to relent until every member of Hamas is captured, eliminated, or driven into the state of inactivity. So the action of the Israeli government was clearly spelled out when Netanyahu started this reaction since 2023. Interestingly, the total number of Jews that died in that debacle that day, not only Jews anyway, there were also some other nationals that were shot or kidnapped or taken hostage. That number will not be more than 1,400 to 1,500. That is the statistic. As of today, over 50 are still being held hostage. Families of hostage and missing persons in Israel are still demanding their release. Information is that about 18 are already deceased. Others are still being negotiated for release. Take it from me that Israel, since October 2023, has recorded more than 60,000 fatalities on the side of the Palestinians. That is Israel for you. You see, Israel survived up to from 1948 till today, 2025, by using one simple policy: not an eye for an eye. If you take one Israeli life, initially they started with taking 10, 100. They have escalated it upwards because the Palestinians have a dedicated ideology that Israel must not exist. And this is the problem. In negotiation, you cannot say the other one will not. If you must do anything, have regard for the other party to the conflict and give them room for compromise to be achieved.
All right.
In this particular instance, that is not what the Palestinians wanted. Israelis told that line for a while. Now, Israelis are the ones setting the standard now, and that is why this matter is becoming more and more difficult to resolve.
Let's move straight down to France, where Shem is standing by. You said, Shem, that the IDF, they didn't kill innocent persons. They didn't kill innocent Palestinians. They don't target children. They don't target women, even the elderly. But according to reports, you get to hear video footage as evidence that men, women, and children, innocent ones, are affected. Some even paid the supreme price because of the onslaught of the IDF. What do you have to say about that?
Thank you very much. Look, the truth of the matter is there is so much ignorance on the side of the populace. I don't know whether I would call it ignorance or lack of digging deep for the truth, or lack of deep inquiry. The United States government have sent multiple inquiries to Gaza to see for themselves. And they come back with the report that, look, what we are seeing on the news is not what we see there. Now, let me tell you that we have Bollywood, we have Hollywood that do into film, we have Nollywood, the African, and now I want to shock you, we now have Gazawood. Look, I saw a video where a father poured paint on a little child and asked her to lie down like she has been shot, and the father was videoing, and the father said, no, you didn't do this well, do it again. They were videoing it. And maybe they shared it. I don't know how it got. So look, I've seen they bring sick children from Sudan, from other parts of the world, from Yemen, people who are sick, and then they video them and they say this is Gaza child that is hungry, or that is that whatever. So look, what Hamas is doing is they are doing a campaign to make the world feel that that they are that Israel is maltreating them and doing this. But this is not the truth. This is not the truth of the matter. Look, as we speak now, there are hostages that are kept that are not fed. I saw the picture and video of one hostage just a few weeks ago. You will weep. So what we need to understand is that most hostages are they are what do you call it? They are acted. They are scripts to send to the world. And you see, to make matters worse, the United Nations refugee, the UNR, whatever, most of them, from what we saw, because the IDF was able to find out the personalities of those working in that UN organization, and it
All
was
right.
discovered that most of them were Hamas members.
Okay.
So when those who are in charge of bringing out facts are part of the culprits, it becomes difficult for the world to understand the truth. And like the gentleman from from the university, the other man who spoke just now, he talked about, oh, it's actually 7th of October 2023. They were
All
not just
right.
murdered. Excuse me, they were not just murdered, they were raped. They were raped. I saw babies put in oven. It's a child of 9 months, 1 year. You put him in a child in the oven and you bake and you video it.
I wouldn't
So
want us to paint that picture right now. We are on live TV. I wouldn't want us to paint that picture. Yes, they did so many horrific things. That should be the language we should use on this platform. But 1,000 plus, now graduating towards hundreds of thousands being killed in Gaza, Palestinians. So do you think Benjamin is taking this too far? And from what he said, it says some of the videos being shown on TV are doctored, that some of them are fake. How would you react to that?
I do not want to deviate from the substance of our discussion. If we keep things in perspective, first, the act of Hamas on the 7th of October 2023 was a declaration of war on the state of Israel. Israel has survived. That's why I made allusion to the fact that from 1948 to 2025 that we are in today, Israel has survived by using one simple rhetoric. You take one of our own, we take hundreds of your own. So if we are talking about Israel getting too far now, we'll get to that point. But the question is, who started this problem? Hamas did. I'm sure by live streaming it too, they wanted to make a caricature of the IDF and the government of Benjamin Netanyahu. I also want to be specific that they did not expect that Israel will go this far. That is what is shocking them now. It may also interest to know that Hamas has agreed to a truce, asking for a 60-day window that has been mediated by Egypt and Qatar, to help them roll back. Hamas is looking for an olive branch, yet Hamas is giving conditions to a more powerful state, which is not going to work because Netanyahu even agreed on phased release of the hostages. Right now, he is saying we want all our hostages back, whether dead or alive, bring them for us. He also agreed, based on the cabinet discussion, that as of today, August 26th, they are supposed to meet to review if they are going to accept the truce for the 60-day ceasefire. The incident that happened yesterday in Khan Yunis when they bombed Nessa Hospital, the double tap strike on the hospital, 21 lives lost. 5 of them are journalists. Some of them are medics. But I looked through the names of most of the journalists. He just mentioned in France that they are masquerading sometimes as Hamas elements. It is not a matter of whether it is 6 or half a dozen. It's becoming more difficult because Hamas has a history of using human shield, women and children. Hamas has a history of using medical centers to launch attacks into Israel. And it will also interest everybody that is listening that most of those health facilities were having tunnels that Hamas members were burrowing into when they have attacked Israel. Israel has that intelligence, and that's why they went all out to most medical centers to root out Hamas. Because if you also observe, when the offensive started, they sent ground forces into Gaza. And all these things are still developing. The world is judging Israel that Israel is using too much force. Please, I don't know what force they ask Israel to use, but Israel has a cardinal duty to secure its borders to protect the lives and property of its citizens, and to insist, as they have always insisted, that anything that comes after them, they will retaliate with full force, which they have the capacity to do. They have been doing that. It is left for Hamas to also become realistic, and the Palestinian authorities and whoever is advising them to begin to see the other side, because this argument will not be a favorable one for them, even if we do not want to drag the issue. I'm not trying to be moralistic. I'm looking at the facts as they are. I'm not supporting Israel. I'm not supporting Hamas. But we must look at issues pragmatically. There is conflict on ground. What is the way to resolve this conflict? Parties have to come to compromise. In fact, the Israelis, the government of Benjamin Netanyahu, agreed to release prisoners of Palestinian origin up to those who have been in prison for 10, 15 years. Yes. They've agreed to release more than 50 prisoners for 18 corpses that were to be released. Dead for dead, those that were alive, they will negotiate it. They had that opportunity. Hamas did not quickly take advantage of it. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu is saying the two objectives that he has is, one, get all the hostages, and two, end Hamas. Right. And he's pushing that narrative very well. But again, they apologized yesterday for the double attack, that it was a mishap. They didn't plan to actually attack that Al-Nusra hospital, but it has happened. 21 lives, 5 journalists, medics are gone. The whole world is not happy about it. The UN has condemned it. ICJ is looking at possible case of genocide against Israel. Meanwhile, the ICI, the International Criminal Court, ICC, has already started processing documents for both Israel and Gaza to say that they are involved in crimes against humanity. So nobody is really free from the matter.
All right, I will come back to you, Prof. Well, let me get straight down to Shem in France. Now, Shem, you said that most of the things I was seeing, they are doctored, but like what he rightly mentioned, there was an attack yesterday. It got double tap, and there were casualties. And what about take a look at what Israel is doing right now, going straight to where Palestinians have been boxed in. They are saying they are going to go into the crowd, go through the camp to sweep out, in quote right now, the remnant of Hamas. I don't think that will lead to more casualties. I don't think Benjamin is taking it too far.
No, Benjamin is not taking it too far. Benjamin is trying to ensure peace for his citizens, and he's also trying to ensure the safety of those who live in the borders, in communities that border Gaza, those environments, in kibbutz area and all those areas. He's trying to see that they are safe and secure. And I think every responsible leader will want to see the peace and security of his citizens. For Hamas, but I think the challenge that the IDF is having now is that Hamas is trying to stop civilians from moving out from areas that the IDF has instructed them to move out from. So what is going on there now is, like, I think Hamas is trying to use civilians as human shield to prevent the IDF from finishing the job. So, like the information I got today is that I got an information just this afternoon that the Hamas is trying to block all the highways to prevent civilians from leaving the city. They are trying to trap the civilians in so that it will become difficult for the IDF to finish this, what they have started for a long time. And concerning the issue of targeting women and children, most of the leaders of Hamas have been eliminated. Many of them have been eliminated. Like 90% of the leaders and the commanders have been eliminated, but their wives are still alive. They have wives. So why didn't they attack the wives as well? As we hear, the wives of some of them have made their way to other parts of the Middle East to start, to continue their life. So as far as I know, Israel is targeting Hamas and terrorist groups that pose a threat to Israel. And any other thing we see, sometimes there could be, there could be some little damages, and like what we saw yesterday or thereabout, where some people lost their lives. It's normal in a war. But I know that the IDF do their best to make sure that only their targets are taken down.
You see the pictures of some journalists that were casualties in that particular attack. Now, some Israelis are protesting, saying, Benjamin is enough. Call this war off. Bring back our sons and daughters, dead or alive. Benjamin tagged them the Gen Z generation. They don't know what is really going on in the war and, of course, in the world. What do you have to say about the thousands of Israelis that came out to say no to this war, stop this war? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Israel is a democracy. And in a democratic setting, citizens are allowed to voice their opinion. Sometimes they may even be in the opposition against the popular policies of the government or the unpopular policies of a government. But we must also accept the fact that uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. The Prime Minister of Israel, in person of Benjamin Netanyahu, has a cabinet. They also have an elected legislative arm that supports the action of the executive. So these decisions are not taken in a vacuum. There are consultations, there are high-stake meetings behind the scenes. So before a presentation is done in public, it has been thought through. Those who are asking Benjamin Netanyahu to bring back the hostages, whether dead or alive, is he going to shake hands with Hamas and just collect them? We don't know how they want to propose it, because it's easy to say, go and do something. The question is, how is it to be done? And hard decisions must be made in government. All is fair in love and in war. In this war, there must be collateral damage. That is what's happening in that happened in Khan Yunis yesterday. Even if they had intelligence that there were some elements of Hamas in that Nasser hospital that was struck yesterday, it could happen that the real objective cannot be disclosed, because in military strategy, sometimes you act before you explain. In fact, most times, you don't even explain. You have to neutralize the opposition or your rivals before you now explain how you got there, because there are intelligence agencies that operate behind the scenes. They also have local assets that give the information. That is why Israel has been very effective in this war. In fact, Israel has done very well for itself by targeting mostly the commanders of Hamas. The rest are hiding in civilian settings. Women and children are used as human shield. That is already known. In fact, it is their tactic. But what even should baffle everybody is this. We keep blaming Israel. What is initiating all this crisis? It is the attack. Now, the Arab nations, we don't even really hear of them calling Hamas to order. Rather, they keep blaming Israel, you're using too much force. And in doing that, I do not hear of Arab countries in the Middle East, or even those that are Islamic countries, extending refugee status or granting asylum to Palestinians. It is always Western nations. The Western nations are the ones even quarreling with themselves over the Palestinian matter. Are they the only persons in this world? Okay, in the United Nations, over 127 nations have accepted that Palestine should be given statehood.
Yeah.
Recently, Canada is moving in that direction. Australia is moving in that direction. Germany came out bluntly to say they are not in that direction. Brazil and Israel are already having a spat right now. Israel will also protect them. And when this issue started in 1948, there was a two-state solution. This part belongs to Israel, this part belongs to Palestine. The Palestinians rejected their own, wanted to take Israel's own, attacked Israel. Israel fought back. And since Israel won that first attack, that first battle, Israel has not looked back. That's why each time there's conflict, Israel will take more of their territory.
We'll come into that. I'll come back to you, Prof. Now, let me throw this question out. Shem, the world is already finding that Israel has encroached or gone beyond its borders. And Israel is planning to even plant security outposts in this region, conquered, so to speak, or swept by the IDF. And it's not really going down too well with watchers, because some are saying that the key purpose of Benjamin Netanyahu is to grab more Palestinian land. Do you think That is what the Prime Minister of Israel is doing right now by saying that Israel will occupy the region to make sure that Hamas doesn't trouble Israel anymore.
Not only in Gaza. You see, if you go to the temple, the mount by the border by Syria, and a little extension into Syria, you have the IDF there. There are some zones that are called the buffer zone. Now, the buffer zone are zones that, are into the other territory, but that, they are zones that are secured to prevent, infiltrators to come into the state of Israel. The world may be, please, I don't know if you would allow me to dive a little bit into the holy books, because people say it's 1947, 1948 this started. But if you read the books, you will see that about 5,000 years ago, I call it the spirit of Haman. There was a man called Haman who tried to kill all the Jews. But it didn't work. There's a lady who was a queen, Queen Esther, who saved the Jews. She spoke to her husband and said, "Look, my people cannot be killed." And at the end of the day, Haman was killed. His 10 sons were hanged. They were all killed. Those who wanted to kill the Jews. So this is a spirit. Look, I see this as a spiritual. This matter we are looking at, and we just think, it's political. I see it as a deeper issue. I see it as something deeper that has been there for ages. It's been there for thousands of years, not even hundreds of years. There's a hatred. There's a hatred for a certain group of people, the Jews. There's so much hatred for them, and the hatred is extending around the world. Today we see so many Western nations even pitching tent with supporting the Palestinian movement and the Hamas movement and so on and so forth. So I think it's a deeper issue. It's really deeper than we see with our physical eyes.
Okay.
For Benjamin Netanyahu, I think he's doing what he's elected to do. And concerning the land grabbing, I think Israel is not the cause of this problem, because if what happened on October 7 didn't happen, I don't think Israel will go into Gaza to discover all the tunnels. I think for now, from what we hear, they say Gaza has the biggest tunnel routes in the world. The whole of underground of Gaza they have tunnels that links hundreds of kilometers to one another. So you can see that all the monies that have been going into Gaza from UN and other nations to rebuild Gaza, instead of them to use it to develop the country, build technology, provide water, they were using it for terror, to buy ammunition, to build underground tunnels, and so on and so forth. So Israel just discovered this. This war made Israel to discover so many things that they didn't know before. So I think Israel is not really the cause of this issue of land grabbing, because if Hamas had maintained their lane, I don't think what we are seeing today will happen.
All right, thank you so much, Shem. Well, he went into spirituality, went into biblical history, and finally he said the so-called land that was being grabbed by Israel, Hamas seems to be the cause of it. But despite that, is that reason enough for Israel to say that is going to be a buff house? I don't think Benjamin had this ulterior motive of making that part of Israel as we round up the show.
When conflict starts, new developments will come out. Permit me to speak my own dialect. In Benin, there's a saying that "aavene otoave," meaning when you start wrestling, the space you started wrestling is begin to expand by itself. That is what is going on in this current debacle. The Palestinians did not expect what they are seeing, and they were just tactical. Oh, we'll just go into Israel, we'll capture some of them, we'll eliminate some, we'll live stream it.
No, not Palestinian, Hamas now.
Hamas, of course,
yes.
The Hamas.
They are Palestinians
They are
too.
Palestinians, so they lead the government. So they started the debacle in October 2023. They didn't calculate in strategic terms. The first thing they would have asked themselves is, if they do this, what will be Israel's reaction? What will be their reaction to Israel's reaction? What will be Israel's further reaction? That's what we call move, counter move, move to the counter move, then counter to the counter move. So in negotiation, in diplomacy, these are the things we explain. The Hamas elements that broke into Israel, what they did were atrocious. The world was shocked. In fact, they even made comments to the extent of saying that the so-called taunted Israeli Defense Forces invisibility, they've broken it. Okay, they went and dead the lion by putting the lion's tail. Now the lion is up and running. You are saying the lion should go back to his den. It's not going to be so easy. Because you initiated the process, Benjamin Netanyahu is saying he will follow it to the conclusion. And he has the capacity. Now this is power at play. It's not morality. People tend to be moral when they scoff at it. You cannot moralize now. This is power, and power is emotion. And when it's emotion, anything that is obstructing it, it will override or crush that thing. A moving train doesn't really stop easily. Now the Palestinians are talking of Israel coming to grab their land. Where did you launch your attack from? It's on that land. So if it has to be taken for further security to be granted to Israel, Israel will do it.
So you're supporting Netanyahu for what he's doing right now.
I'm not supporting him.
But that's the stand you are taking.
Listen, please. It is about being pragmatic. It is not personal. Right. If you are in the firing line, the generals know when war will start. They can never tell you when war will end. There are developments that have come out. They discovered tunnels. Tunnels that ran crisscross the whole of Gaza. There are also tunnels in West Bank. Now up to the border crossing in Rafah to Egypt. Tunnels were dug. And these are not small tunnels, deep into the ground. Many of them are coming out in health and educational facilities. How do you expect Israel to walk away when they've discovered such development? And they are not going to leave it overnight because their security and the future guarantees cannot come from Hamas. It can only come from their capacity to neutralize what they have seen as a direct threat to their survival and to anticipate future reoccurrence.
Thank you so much. I could get serious, or I'm getting serious signal from the PD that our time is up. We just can't go beyond this. Well, you've heard Shem all the way from France, and of course, Prof here. I must call the Prof Israel right now. Felix Osaime, thank you so much for coming on today's show. We keep on watching. Israel said they need to survive. Hamas said, look, you are taking this thing too far. Yes, we killed just 1,000 plus. Now you're going towards hundreds of thousands. Take it easy. How do you think others will pan out to do it again next week Tuesday? God willing. Bye for now.